I'm Amethyst, and I'm going to talk about what it's like to be a pagan in the Bible Belt. I moved to Tennessee halfway through freshman year. Prior to that, I went to church with my family, to a Lutheran church, and like half my family is Christian, kind of the Catholic kind of way. And I didn't know much about my other options. A couple years before, I had come out to my parents as atheist because I never felt really comfortable with Christianity, and I was about to be confirmed, and I knew that it wasn't right for me and that I was lying, saying that, yeah, it's all good and I believe these things. So I stopped that, and when I moved to Tennessee, at some point I heard something of the word Wicca on the internet, and I was intrigued. I started to do research on it and realized that it was a lot of what I was interested in and what I believed. I continued researching it and figuring out kind of what it's about and who I was. And so I started kind of transition my mind to thinking, oh yes, I am a Wiccan and pagan. It's part of paganism, and I can be a witch. I've always been interested in magic and nature and all that stuff, so that was pretty exciting to realize that I can actually be a person who's like that, because that's a thing. So after that, at some point during that time, during that 9th grade when I lived in Tennessee, I met my best friend. I met her, and somehow, I don't even remember how, but we started talking about it, and she was also interested in Wicca. So we kind of started researching at the same time, more in depth, and yeah. And from there, one of our common friends, not that they're a common person, a friend we had in common, that I met that year also turned out to be a Wiccan, so that's awesome. Doggos. After that, I kind of started to come out to my various friends and living in the Bible Belt. Most of them were Christian, and so I was a little bit scared at first, but I started telling them, like, just things that I believed in, not specifically putting a label on it, and they were all so chill about it. Like, I had really no problems with it. I was like, obviously, my friends were being good Christians, and they would offer the opportunity for me to go with them to like youth group or whatever it is, and I politely declined, and they were okay with that, and just continued on like normal, and it wasn't really as scary as I thought it would be. So I guess that means I have really good friends with open minds. And then the task was to tell my parents, because I didn't want to hide it anymore. It was a couple of years later after I decided that that was my path. And I knew that my parents, at least my mom, would have like preconceived thoughts on the word Wicca and what she thought that it meant, and I knew that was absolutely wrong. And one day, I just decided, gotta tell her, and I said something along the lines of, I've figured out, or I've found like a religion that fits me and what I believe and feel. And then she kind of got scared. She's like, what is it? And I said Wicca, and she didn't take it too well, and she just kind of got used to it at first, like, well, okay. And she thought it was probably like some dark stuff that I was gonna like have a hard time and get into evil things that were bad for me. So I started to pick up on that and how worried she was about me. So I dug up a webpage that I had found during my researching, and I'll link to that in the description because it is my favorite like web resource to tell people about what I believe in, and just really a basic overview of what paganism is, and I love it. After that, she was more understanding, and she's like, "Oh, it's not that bad. You're okay. It's just nature and happiness." Kind of. Um, so my dad was pretty chill with it, so that was cool. The next challenge I faced was people just in public. All the people in my life were kind of more cool about it. Um, I did receive some religious birthday cards and whatever, although I'm pretty sure my extended family doesn't know about that I'm not Christian. They know I don't go to church, I think, but other than that, I don't think they really know that I'm pagan. So that was just a coincidence, I think. Maybe they saw pentagrams and they're like, oh no, devil. But I got a ring that I can't wear anymore because I'm allergic to metal, so I have cord on my necklace. I also had, well, before I got the ring, I had a necklace that I wore every day that was metal, and it had a little key on it, and then I got a Tree of Life charm and a pentacle. My aunt actually helped me find those. I don't know, she knew that I was looking for those particular ones because of my religion. Um, but she's the one who told me that homo was a bad word when I was little. So who knows? Maybe she just thought that I liked them because they were pretty. Anyways, I wore that necklace every day. I didn't take it off for anything, and that meant that I wore it at work, and I worked at a fast food restaurant, and there were actually a lot of people who would just compliment me on my necklace, and only a handful of those people, I think, actually knew what it meant. But the fact that there were people who liked it and knew what it meant, and they were telling me, it was just really cool. And there was some guy at some point who asked me if I knew about these specific like spirit guardian things, and I didn't really know what he meant, and then he kind of felt awkward, and then he just left. But I really wanted to continue talking to him, like, whoa, another pagan here. So never actually got to talk to him more. But there were a handful of those people who were happy to see another person wearing pentacles and trees of life and stuff. But then there were those people who would tell me that I was going to hell, and the people who were concerned about my soul and whatever. I had one old guy come up to me. I guess he had been in a war or something, and he took my hand over the counter, and I wasn't really like scared of stranger danger because he was just a little old man, and I'm kind of shy, so I didn't like want to tell him, no, I'm sorry, I don't believe what you're saying, I want to just walk away now. But I let him hold my hand and tell me that I was going to hell and that he would pray for me, and he almost died once, and he showed me the scar on his chest, and he told me that he's been at the doors of heaven or the gates of heaven, and that I'm not going to go there if I continue the way I am. And he was like, when are you going to be working next? I have this book, I'm going to drop it off for you. I like that he was really genuine and cared about me, a complete stranger. But it's so weird. I would never think to go up to a stranger and tell them that they're going to hell or that they're evil or what they believe in is completely wrong. Because even if I don't agree with what you're thinking and believing, that's for you to work with. That's not my thing. There was also this woman, um, probably late 20s or something, and she noticed my ring, and she came up to me while I was cleaning the lobby, and she was like, I saw your ring. Are you Wiccan? And I was like, yeah. I was just so happy to find another person who knew what that was, and she seemed happy about it, and she was like, oh yeah, I practiced Wicca when I was a younger teenager, like your age, and it got me into a really bad place in my life, and we were doing all kinds of dark stuff, and it was really bad, and I got addicted to drugs, and it, my life was just awful until I found the truth. And then she just kept going on about how I needed to turn over to the Christian God and find the truth so that I wouldn't be like into dark stuff. And I just kept listening and nodding and like smiling, like, thank you so much for trying to save me. But I was just thinking the whole time, that wasn't Wicca. Whatever you were doing was not Wicca. It was some dark stuff covered by the name of Wicca. And there is that going on. People in dark magic kinds of things will use the name of Wicca and be like, oh yeah, it's just Wicca, come join us. And then it's like really bad. That's not what I'm doing. Just like smiling at trees and stuff, basically. uh, it wasn't Wicca. I felt kind of bad that that was her only view of Wicca and she thought she had actually experienced it and that it made her life bad and whatever, but it wasn't the fault of any religion or belief that made her turn to drugs and evil things. There was obviously something else going on in her life that caused her to do that stuff. Anyway, I just take the approach of smiling and nodding when I'm on the job, at least. And that's usually when people would confront me, was while I was working. And I haven't had much other problem elsewhere. But yeah, having to deal with that is not particularly easy, to just stand there and take it while they're telling you that everything you think is wrong. Because that's kind of why I stopped going to church when I was younger, like middle school. Because I would sit there and feel like everything they were telling me was that I didn't believe the right thing. My brain was not right. So I feel a lot better being a pagan, and nobody can tell me in this community or any community that I'm believing things wrong, because it's whatever I want now, so it's all good. I learned to be more confident in myself and what I believe and not be afraid to tell people that I don't believe the same thing as them. But I'm always open to hear people talk about what they believe in, even if it's the same Christian stuff I know about. There's probably going to be something different that they get from it, and I love to hear about that. I'm totally fine if you want to explain to me your spiritual journey into the light. It's just a little bit more difficult in this particular area. I am listening to a podcast called The Priestesses, and it's recorded in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where I was born. So I grew up in Wisconsin, and I didn't know about paganism when I lived there. I didn't know about witchcraft or any of that. So I always kind of assumed that it would be better for a witch there, but it might not be. So I guess this is just kind of what you deal with wherever you are if you're a pagan. And if you're in the closet right now, I wish you, in the broom closet, as some people call it, or the pagan pantry. Shout out to the priestesses. Just good luck. I love to hear your stories about encounters and whatever. I have a couple more stories about meeting people with different beliefs. So if you want to hear those, give me a thumbs up and comment about that. Like if you enjoyed this video, comment with any ideas or suggestions, and remember to subscribe to be a part of my future adventures. Have a nice day.